Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are talking about Sword Soul Tenyi, one of the best decks out of the new packs. And honestly, a tier 1 deck, I think both in the OCG as well as the TCG, just an insane deck overall. Now, this is still pretty early for Master Duel, so I don't know exactly what the best cards are to play in a best of 1 format, but let's quickly do the card by card and explanation. So, first of all, we are playing Triple Adhara, which is a worm that special summons itself, as well as all of the Tenyis do that. They basically just are free special summons. But they also have graveyard effects that can activate when you control a non-effect monster. So Adhara can add back a worm monster from your banished pile. Vishuddha can bounce a card. Ashana can special summon a Tenyi. And Shithana can protect. It just protects cards. But they're all basically just free special summons. So we're playing Triple Adhara, Triple Ashana, because they're just the best special summons. Having a level 1 tuner is very nice. And then 2 Vishuddha, because it's very easy to get to, and normally you want to get to it while you have a non-effect monster, so that you can actually bounce stuff. And then the 1 Shithana, because it comes up occasionally. Moving on, we are playing the Triple Maxi, Triple Ash Blossom, Double Called By. Pretty self-explanatory. We are a combo deck. We don't want to have to... Well, we're a pseudo combo deck, so we want to be able to banish Maxi. We want to be able to banish Ash Blossom, but also just have them in general. We're also playing the DPE engine in Celestial Dasher and Fusion Destiny, as well as the DPE and Verte. As for the Sword Souls, we are playing Triple Moye. Moye on normal or special, specials a token by revealing a Sword Soul or a worm. Also, when it's used as synchro material, it draws you a card, allowing you to chain block with Chi-Xiao. Taya, when it is... you can banish a Sword Soul or Worm from your graveyard to special a token, and when it's used as synchro material, you can send a Worm to your graveyard, or a Sword Soul card from your deck to the graveyard. So, both of these can chain block for your Chi-Xiao. We'll talk about him in a second. We're also playing Triple Long Yuan. Long Yuan is very good. You discard one other Sword Soul or Worm monster to special summon itself, as well as a token, which allows you to go into a level 10 instead. Also, if it's used for synchro material, you can inflict 12,000 or 1,200 damage to your opponent. I don't know why, but okay. We are also playing Ecclesia. This card is very good. You can special summon itself if your opponent controls basically Cyber Dragon. You just special summon it to the field. Also, you can tribute this card in order to special summon a Sword Soul or Fallen Volbaz, but mostly you use it to special summon out something like a Moye or a Taya. Pretty simple, just extra copies of it mostly. Moving on, we are also playing Triple Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. This card is rather interesting. You can send a worm monster from your deck to the graveyard, but if you control a non-effect monster as well, you can add a Tenyi monster to your hand. Just additional recursion, and you can go something like Tenyi into a Monk of the Tenyi into this card to add another Tenyi and send something like Ashana or Adhara, whichever one you need be. Special summon the second one, and then banish the Ashana, banish the Ashana that's in your grave, because you need to get it in there, in order to go for another, either the Adhara or the Vishuddha, so you have both of these onto the field, and then you can send both of those to the graveyard to go for a Chi-Xiao. So, there you go. It's just an extra way to get into Chi-Xiao. Then we have Sword Soul Emergence. It's a generic search card, and if you have a Synchro monster, you can search a worm instead of a Sword Soul. We also are playing Sacred Summit. It's a monster reborn. Very similar to Emergence. If you have a Synchro, you can target a worm instead of a Sword Soul. Then we have Blackout. Blackout says target a worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. Also, if it's banished, you special summon a level 4 tuner token. This card's crazy. It's a Destroy 2 that is searchable. It's very, very good. Then we are playing 1 9 Pillars of the Yang Zing. This is searchable off of Danglong, which we can summon off of an Adhara and a level 4 non-tuner, which we play quite a few of. But most importantly is the fact that it is just very good to search out 9 Pillars, because it is an Omni Negate that shuffles into the deck instead of destroys. And most importantly, it allows you to pop Danglong, which Danglong can then also special summon out another monster if it leaves the field. there you go. It doesn't do anything because we're not playing any other Yang Zings. But if, for example, you have some of your other... Actually, no, they missed timing. Mostly, it's an Omni Negate. That's very good. I never saw that I needed to have it, though. But it is searchable, and it's pretty fun. Anyway, moving on to the extra deck, we are obviously playing DPE and Verte, as I mentioned. We are also playing the Danglong. We are also playing Yazi. This card is a little bit more difficult to summon, because you do have to use the module, or the level modulation off of Sword Soul Emergence and Sword Soul Sacred Summit. So when these cards are banished, they modulate levels by 1. So that's basically it. They can either increase or decrease. So what you do is you decrease the level of your monsters so that you have a level 3 and a level 7, or sorry, a level 3 and a level 4, and then you can go into this guy. This guy's absolutely crazy, because going second, what you can do is you can target this card as well as a card your opponent controls, destroy them, and then special summon out a worm monster from the deck in defense position, allowing you to potentially go from a Moye into a Taya or something along those lines. Very, very solid. We're playing 2 Boxia. Realistically, I could probably cut this down to 1. I've never actually summoned it, but when this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards in order to just shuffle them back into the deck. Up to 2, basically most of the time. Sometimes it will only be 1 if you use Moye, but most of the time it'll be 2. And then if it's synchro, then once per turn, you can target 1 card you control and a level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, destroy them, and then special summon the other monster to the field. Sorry, target a card you control. Yeah, so just any card you control. Special summon the other one. Yeah, there you go. Pretty simple. Moving on, we also have White Aura Whale. It kind of comes up because it can just special summon itself if you have another water. It also inflicts a piercing battle damage and a lot of battle damage to your opponent, which is pretty nice. And it just continually comes back. So it's nice. It's not crazy, but it's nice. We have 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. When your opponent's monster activates a monster effect, you can banish it. That's basically all you need to know. It's kind of nice, but it's just another 8 to go into. We have 2 Chixiaos. This card is absolutely crazy and does basically everything for the deck. When it's synchro summoned, you can add or banish a Sword Soul card from your deck to your hand. Also, you could banish a Sword Soul card or a Worm monster from your hand or graveyard, then target an effect monster on the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Really, really solid. It doesn't negate and destroy, but it does negate until the end of the turn. So, it's nice. It's very nice. But yeah, you just basically get to search out Sword Soul Blackout, and you can chain block with your Moye. So there you go. We're playing 1 Ruddy Rose Dragon. When it's synchro summoned, you return all of your, or sorry, you banish all cards from the graveyards. That's it. That's pretty much it. It's really good against like Eldritch or other such graveyard reliant strategies. We're playing the 1 Baron as well as a level 10 and 1 Supreme Sovereign Chengying. This card increases its defense for each, or increases its attack and defense for each banished card and decreases the opponent's attack and defense. If this card would be destroyed, you could just banish a card instead. It's specifically by card effect though. But if a card is banished, you can banish a card on both your opponent's side of the field and their graveyard. This card isn't as good as Baron. Baron just being able to constantly pop cards and potentially, and at the very least, negate a card is very nice. But overall, this card is still very good. We also have 2 Monk of the Tenyi for our Tenyis and obviously the Verte. Anyway, let's hop into the replays and see how this deck performs. Before we hop into the duels, let me just say that over 80% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed. So if you find yourself coming back on the regular, you can always subscribe. And if you end up finding that you don't like the content anymore, you can always unsubscribe later. It's free, it's fun, and it allows me to continue making content for you guys on the daily. So if you like the content, consider subscribing. Anyway, let's hop into the duels. Alright, so here we are in our first duel, and we drew actually very well. However, we are going second. So they are going to Pot of Prosperity for 6, and I'm going to let that go through. And they are going to reveal a whole bunch of cards. They reveal they are on Grenmaju. Okay. And they end up picking up the Imperm here, which is really weird given the fact that they also had Judgment, Grenmaju, and Orochi. So I don't know why they did that, but now we know that we are playing around an Imperm. Good to know. They're going to set 3 and pass. Cool. Anyway, let's get to cracking. So, first and foremost, we do draw a Sword Soul Blackout, which is absolutely crazy. We're going to Vashada here, and they are going to activate Vanity's Emptiness. Huh. Okay, I guess Vashada doesn't activate. I will just normal summon this Taya and pass the turn. Well, I'm also going to set the Sword Soul Blackout that we just drew off of the top. So, there you go. They're going to normal summon Inspector Border, which okay, I guess I have to pop that. So we're going to try and pop the Inspector Border as well as this set card. Now, if any of their cards go to the graveyard, the Vanity's Emptiness does go to the graveyard as well, so I'm not that concerned about it. But they do get to bounce their Inspector Border. However, Inspector Border is not going to be able to come back, but that's fine. So we do get the basically 2 for 2. Not the greatest, but at least it's something. But it does pass back to us, and we know that we are playing around Imperm. That's it. We just know Imperm, and this is going to be very simple for us at this point. So we're going to go for Vashada here in order to go into Monk of the Tenyi. Then we will special summon, then we will go for the Vashada in order to bounce the Imperm. Now they can actually activate Imperm here, but yeah, I shouldn't have done that. We knew it was Imperm, but I bounced it anyway. Anyway, I'm going to go and special summon out the Adhara, and then normal summon Moye, reveal Longwon in order to go for the token to special summon out the Chixiao. Chixiao effect will activate, and then we will chain block with the Moye, but again, they have Imperm, so if they wanted to activate it, could have activated it. But I'm, again, not too worried about this resolving. We do get the Search of the Blackout, as well as we drew Vessel of the Dragon. So that's very nice, because we do get to search the Shithana here, and we get to send the Ashana. We're going to then pitch the Shithana in order to special summon out the Long Yuan. And then we can go for Baron! Level 10 Baron. This is basically game. There's not a whole lot more that they can do, especially after that burn. So we are just going to proceed to the battle phase and walk right over them. There you go. Good game. All right, and I bricked. Not really. But I did draw a Dasher, and we are going first, but we are going to go and start off with Long Yuan. Now, the reason I do this is because, one, if I'm playing against Ash, and I bring out Long Yuan, I can immediately go into Baron, and then I can negate the Ash if I need to. But yeah, it's immediate. It's an immediate negate off of basically one card. So very, very nice. So we're just going to go into immediately a Baron. Also, Taya does require the setup, so not really worth it. And I could have normal summoned the Ecclesia to potentially go for something, but I still haven't normaled, so there you go. This at least allows me to play around the Ash Blossom, if they do have it. I'm going to go for Sword Soul Emergence, and since I control a Synchro monster, I add the Ashana. I realistically shouldn't have done this, but since I didn't have another Worm, that wasn't really a great option for me here. But yeah, we're going to go for the Moye here in order to go for Taya. Now, again, I could have gone either Taya or Moye. It doesn't really matter which one too much. It's the difference of whether you want to draw during your chain block or you want to send a card. I actually think sending a card is a little bit worse. But I ended up going Taya because I was like, oh, I can't use this Worm in my hand to activate Moye, but you can. That was just silly of me. Anyway, we're going to go for Taya, banish the black out. Alright, so we have an Omni Negate, we have a Monster Negate, and we have an Adamancipator. So, there you go. They're going to go for Adamancipator Analyzer. I'm going to go for the Chixiao here to negate. And then they're going to go for Droplets. Now, here is something that is very interesting. Send any number of other cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard. Choose that many effect monsters your opponent controls. Keep that in mind. They have to choose the same amount that they sent. They sent 2 monsters. They have to have 2 effect negations. However, notably, they only sent 2 monsters, meaning they didn't send a trap. So Blackout is available. I activate Blackout. I'm gonna pop everything. Now, what this does is, since this card is no longer on the field when Chixiao resolves its effect, the monster does not get its effect negated, meaning they can actually go for the summon off of Analyzer. So that kind of sucks, but they really, really heavily misplayed this by special summoning their Researcher. I think what they wanted to do is have me just Sword Soul Blackout immediately, but that wouldn't have made much sense. Anyway, so they are going to reveal a Roxy's, and they're going to go for the Roxy's. Now, I make a little bit of a mistake here because they go for the Meow Meow Moo, and then I'm like, oh, they're going to chain block their Roxy's here. And then they didn't. And I could have negated it with Baron, which would have been way better because they do have to banish a card in order to draw a card. But that, anyway, it could have been really bad for me. But it's fine, because they go into their Dropsies to go for their Doodle Doodle Doo, and then I negate the Dropsies here, and at this point, I think they... Alright, and here we are, not the greatest. Now, this is one of those instances where I would have really preferred having... just having Hulk, because I could have gone Special Adhara, normal Maxi, go into Hulk. However, I don't have that. But what I do have is make Verte. So we go for the plant boy himself, Verte Anaconda. Activate Verte. No Ash Blossom. Pog. Go for the Fusion Destiny of Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. I'm going to activate the effect of Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. We're going to pop our Verte as well as the DPE. Activate DPE to bring him back. And then we are going to set one as a bait. This is purely a bait. It doesn't do anything. But we do have Maxi, Ash Blossom, and DPE. There is a chance that we can win this. It's not looking too good, though. They are going to Harpy's Feather Duster us. Let's go. The bait worked. How do you like that new animation? I'm personally not a fan. I'm going to activate the Maxi here, and then they are going to chain the Ecclesia, because genuinely, I forgot that this was a quick effect. I just genuinely forgot that this was a quick effect. So I end up Ash blossoming it. Whoops. But with Maxi and Ash Blossom, there's not a whole lot that my opponent can do. But we do know that they are most likely on Sword Soul. So they're going to set 3 and pass. During the end phase, I'm just going to pop a card. Because, you know, DPE. DPE is a hell of a card, by the way. So, DPE comes back. Woo! Now, we do have Vessel of the Dragon Soul, which is, or Dragon Cycle, which is interesting. But we are going to activate the DPE part of this engine with the Celestial. So, Celestial, banish Dasher in order to draw 2. Just kidding, it gets striked. Well, that is 1 card less that we have to deal with. Very, very nice. So I am going to just go to battle. I'm going to poke him for 25, and then I am going to go to main phase 2. We're going to pop ourselves as well as their back row, and then proceed to bring back the DPE in the next standby. This is why DPE is absolutely broken. Not only is its materials incredible, but being able to constantly bring itself back, constantly pop cards, it can really put your opponent in a tight squeeze. So they are just going to pass the turn, and sure, I'm just going to go to battle. I literally bricked. Can't do anything with this Ashana. And then we'll just pass it back to them. Main phase 1. They're going to set a card. They're going to go to end phase. Now, here, I see them set a card. And I go, what is the likelihood that they have something like a Called By? Pretty high. The fact that I can just pop this back row and then pop their back row means that I don't need to risk them having a Called By in their end phase. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, instead of popping myself, I'm going to pop the Vessel, because it's not doing anything. So, I'm going to pop the back row with the back row. And then that allows me to just attack in with DPE. I didn't need to pop the back row, but I did anyway. So, that's the deck, or that's, I mean, it's DPE. What did you expect? That was absolutely insane. So, there you go. So I real quick wanted to just prove that this guy was actually playing just with Judgment for some reason and Strike, and it looked like they round it. So overall, how does the deck perform? Incredibly. Wow, it literally has me tongue-tied. It's a very fun deck to play as well. I'm really a fan of the mid-range kind of decks. You have Blackout, which is an absolutely insane advantage card for you because, again, you can even banish it to get more advantage. On top of just having access to the DPE engine, having access to Chisha, which is another negate, having consistent access to Baron is very, very good. Being able to make a Verte with no problem. All of these things just make the deck go round. It's very, very nice. Realistically, if I were to cut things, I would probably cut the 9 pillars as well as the Danglong. They're not the greatest, so you could cut them pretty easily. You could also cut, like a Baxia. You could cut the Ruddy Rose. You could. You could cut the White Aura Whale, and then play things like the Halqifibrax engine. I think that would be very good, along with the, along with Auroradon to go into a Borreload Savage Dragon. All of those are options that I will be looking into because I really like this deck. I think it's very, very fun, and we'll definitely be back with this. But anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh, or you want to just support me in any way, you can check out the Patreon and Discord links down below. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. Hope that you guys... And remember to always stay frosty. Why do I always mess up that? Bye-bye.